Okay. I'm not hearing the sound on this. What? Oh, there we go. Testing. So everyone, welcome to this Writing Center workshop. Please have a seat if you're just coming in. And I'm Michelle Rogie Gannon. I direct the Writing Center and teach courses in the English department. And I want to welcome you to this first workshop of the school year. Kind of exciting. And it just so happens that I'm doing this workshop for you. We have different speakers, however, every week for the workshops. For those of you here in the room, we also have some distance people. I want to talk about the workshops, the gold sheet that you have on the tables, the list of workshops. If this is your first time seeing it, you can see the entire list here. The next workshop is going to be note-taking, finding the method that works best for you. And notice the unusual time. Most of our workshops are at 7 p.m., but that particular workshop is at 4 p.m. There are 3 or 4 workshops on here that are on unusual times or on a different date. But the majority of them are at this time, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, for sake of the distance people attending, every Wednesday. The ones after that, a lot of them are tailored to, come on in, make yourself at home. A lot of them are tailored to first year courses, but there are actually a lot of workshops that also apply to upper division courses. You'll see, how many of you are in English 101? Can I see hands? How about English 210? Okay, so actually quite a segment of you who are in other courses then. That's great. So you'll see some of the other ones that might interest you. A lot of them like building a paragraph, media analysis, that's an English 101 assignment. APA documentation applies to anybody who is in the hard sciences, in education, in psychology, really in a host of disciplines. So I'd encourage you to come to that workshop. Note the unusual time, 4 o'clock that day, September 12th. If you're interested, if you're thinking about grad school, that writing personal statements for grad and professional school applications is next from 4 to 5 on September 19th. The next 2 workshops, writing an effective summary and the power of synthesis, are especially tailored to a synthesis assignment that is in English 101, but that's something that you actually have to do in so many classes, being able to summarize sources and to synthesize what you're writing about. And notice that the presenter for the power of synthesis is Mark Madsen from the Department of History. He feels pretty passionate about it. I think that'll be a really great workshop. Backside, if you're taking any English, most English classes and a host of other classes around campus, MLA documentation workshop will be helpful to attend. That's October 3rd. Integrating sources and avoiding plagiarism, something that concerns us all. Encourage you to attend that workshop on the 10th. If you are doing any science writing, whether it's a lab report or something more complex, writing your scientific research paper, offered by Jeff Wesner from the Department of Biology, good workshop. Revision strategies, I really strongly encourage you to attend that workshop. Prentice Clark is on fire when she talks about revision strategies, and you will find that really helpful. Literary analysis, for any of you who might be, in a lit class or know that you might be taking English 210 or another literature class next semester, That's a good workshop to attend. It happens to be on Halloween. We will be distributing candy. Using commas and other punctuation, Wednesday, November 7th. That's a new workshop we're trying. If you ever worry about whether you're using commas or correctly or other punctuation correctly, good workshop offered by somebody, Patty Damone, who teaches grammar. How to write a portfolio introduction. If you're putting together a portfolio, I know it's true in English 101 and other classes as well. That's a good workshop to attend on the 14th, offered by, presented by Paul Formasano, who's in charge of the freshman writing program at USD. And then the last one is kind of a fun one. It's a write-in, and writing centers around the world offer the write-in. It's from 7 to 11 o'clock, 4 hours. You can drop in any time from 7 to 11. And what will happen, half of this room will be divided so that you can sit and write on your own as you want to. And the other half will have writing consultants who will be available. You can go over to them and ask for help with your paper that you're working on. So a really good opportunity to get some help with your writing, but also to just write on your own. And we will have free food and drink that night. So take advantage of that. The kind of dove gray sheet that's on there on the tables. It's all about the Writing Center, what we do. And we help you with your writing. Our whole goal is to help you become better writers. That's part of why we have this workshop series, but we do other things. You can come to the Writing Center for one-on-one help with your writing, whatever you're working on. And even if you haven't gotten started and you're trying to figure out how to get started, we can help you. Or it could be a partial draft or a complete draft, and you can come back as many times as you like for a particular essay up until it's due. So you see our contact information at the top of the sheet. You also see our hours. We have shorter hours. We're opening next week, beginning Monday, the 27th. We have shorter hours for the first 3 weeks, and then longer hours for the rest of the semester. There are answers to commonly asked questions about the Writing Center on the front page, and on the backside, instructions on how to schedule an appointment online. You can be sitting at home in your jammies and schedule an appointment on Saturday night at 5. So, all right, so that's all about the Writing Center, just to share with you here at the beginning of the semester. Hope you'll come back frequently for these workshops. So we're going to jump into talking about overall sort of theme, constructing an online identity, which you might not have thought about, that every time you get online, you're presenting yourself a certain way. And you might not have really thought about that. But one of the ways in which you do it is through email, right? And there are guidelines or expectations for email. We're going to especially focus on that, but we'll also touch on other ways you can communicate online as well. So here, let me give you this little message. I'll read it aloud, and I just want to get your take on it. From Too Hot to Handle 384 at yahoo.com, subject line, looking for a job. Dear Jim, my pal Tim, I think you know him, just told me you had a cashier job available at your store, but you need to hire it like yesterday. Please see my attached resume. I've got experience as a cashier, and I get good grades. What are those professors thinking anyway? Anyway, you think you could use me? TTYO, Mr. Boss. Right. You're thinking nobody would write a stupid message like that, but I've seen it. So, what things are wrong with that message? Name one thing.
Too hot to handle.
Too hot to handle. The person's email address, the handle is a bit problematic, right? Not professional. What is this person asking for? For a job. Does he know this person?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's addressed him by his first name, Dear Jim. At least there's a salutation of some sort. What else is wrong with this message? Spelling, there were lots of spelling errors. Anything else? Grammar problems. Language is too informal. So they're using some slang and acronyms. What's that, TTYL?
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. So imagine that Jim is a guy who doesn't get on the internet very often. He's kind of older and a bit when he reads this message. What's Jim gonna think of that? Gonna hire this guy, you think? Probably not. So this is just kind of set the tone for tonight for ways you can go wrong. And we'll talk about what you can do to make sure you're doing everything right. Oh yeah, and there's, it's actually a Jill. Jill with a little smiley face there at the end. He might be like, what are those, it's that colon and that hyphen and that parentheses doing there? The problem, and I'm sharing a quotation from a teacher, college teacher. Every semester I see the tweets and Facebook posts. My professor friends, they are annoyed. Their students do not know how to write emails, they say. What they really mean is that their students don't know how to follow the conventions of email etiquette in the academy. I used to be exasperated by student emails too, until I realized there was a simple explanation for why they didn't know how to write them. They've never actually been taught how. So it's possible, that nobody's ever in a sort of deliberate way, helped you to learn how to write good email. I mean, you're probably taught how to write essays in school and other types of more traditional writing, right? But not so much this kind of writing. So you're going to see a lot of cheesy cartoons and jokes here just to kind of keep things light. Apologize that the humor is not your humor. So we have this little cartoon here. You want to take over the world by being polite? We tried everything else, Max. It's like, I wish we could take over the world by being polite in a way. Because, boy, it's not a very polite atmosphere that we have right now online. But in email, it's really true, and online elsewhere, you cannot be too polite. It's important to really think about it because they can't hear the tone of your voice. They can't see the smile on your face. So you really want to try to be as polite as possible. And in emailing your professor, an appropriate greeting. So you might, you got your brand new shiny USD email account, or if you're a freshman, or perhaps you're used to using it. Make sure you're addressing your professors appropriately, dear Professor, Smith, or whatever the name might be. Don't use the first name. Of course, make sure you spell your professor's last name correctly. I've seen my name spelled in all sorts of ways. Never use a professor's first name unless you've been given explicit permission to do so. So, your professor may say in class, you can call me, in my case, Michelle. But if they don't say that, then you should just, it's better to err on the side of caution, right? Go with the last name. I would also say avoid saying, and some professors aren't actually professors, they're instructors, they don't have their PhD yet. But nobody gets offended if you call them a professor. So saying Mrs., using Mrs., avoid that unless they've asked you to call them by their married, title. So professor is generally the best thing to do. Another option is to start with hello, just greeting them appropriately. Avoid hi, that's a little too informal for email. Never start the email with hey. Some professors are not going to like that. Emailing your professor, first sentence, start your message with a brief, polite sentence. I hope that you are having a pleasant day. I mean, just a little bit of a pleasantry of some sort. It might seem a little artificial to you, but remember it's email. And so you want to say something, you want something from this person presumably, right? So why not say something pleasant right off the bat? Remember, email can be forwarded. Your message can easily be forwarded without your knowledge to your old girlfriend or boyfriend. So like you write a message where you're slamming your old girlfriend or boyfriend, and that person gets mad at you for some reason and decides to forward it. You know, things happen, right? Or a message forwarded to your grandma or to your boss. The wrong message, that could be bad, right? Or to the president of this university, or to Judge Judy for evidence in court. And that has happened, my friends. If you've ever watched Judge Judy, that more and more emails are used, right, in court. See it all the time. Use a professional email address. That we touched on that. I like the joke here, get lost at eloser.com is a strange email address. Are you sure you wrote it down right? So avoid email addresses like cutebud@hotmail.com or drunkeveryweekend@yahoo.com. Stick with something professional, at least neutral. To your professor, use your USD Coyote email address, that's best. Avoid gossiping, whether it's an email or online in Facebook or some other form of social media. Gossip backfires. You'll regret it. Don't write angry messages. We've all done it. You know, it's easy to post something, you read something that really offends you or gets you in a tizzy. You respond to it right away, whether it's an email or Twitter or Facebook or wherever. You know, don't send an email message if you're angry. If I'm angry about something, I compose it in Word. I wait overnight and look at it again the next morning and do final edits before I send something. So I will hopefully cool it off and be a little more objective. Get the address right. Make sure you're sending the email address to or email message to the correct email address. I can't tell you how many times I quickly dashed off an email that needed to get to this person, jumped up to leave and go somewhere, and then realized when I got back to my email that I typed the email address incorrectly. Yikes. The other thing I would say is, you ever receive an email message that has been sent to several people and you reply? In USD email, you can do reply all, right? So just be careful, be aware of who is getting that message when you hit reply. You just mean to reply to the sender? Do you mean to reply to everybody? Use a good subject line. Subject line should fit the message. Make sure it's relevant and appropriate. Now, I hope you're all taking some notes here because I'm going to be having you do an exercise here in just a little while where you'll need to be using these guidelines I'm giving you. Be prepared. So avoid subject lines like important, hey sexy, or no subject line. That's the true sin. So, and often the wrong subject line can get you tagged as being spam, and it ends up in the person's spam folder. They might never see it. Rule 8, apply the first screen test. When readers open your message, they should see in the first screen, what you can see on the laptop screen, if you will, a clear subject line and a clear first paragraph. It's fairly brief, right? It conveys your purpose as well as that polite first sentence. So, people are busy, right? So it's good to get right down to business in email in that first screen. after that polite first sentence, of course. And in sending to the paragraph to the professor, that first paragraph to the professor, remind the professor how he or she knows you. Your professor may have hundreds of students, and it's hard for them to remember exactly who you are. It might seem as if they should intimately know who you are, but they don't. So you can remind them. I enjoyed the discussion today in our English 101 class, or whatever class it was, and the fact that it was today, that also tells the professor something. Or you could say, you could be more direct and say, I'm in your English 101 section, 105 class. It meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 to 10:45. And they may have 4 sections, right, of English 101. So it's good to be specific. And if they know you well, if you happen to know that professor well, then you don't have to be quite as formal about it. Then get down to business, explain very concisely why you're emailing. If you can't state in a brief way what you're seeking, consider requesting an appointment. If you get something kind of complicated, it might be better to, ask for an appointment to see them and explain it in person, right? I was wondering if we could meet during your office hours tomorrow. Some tips for emailing professors. Before sending the email, make sure that the information you are seeking is not already in, what am I going to say? D2L, the syllabus, a class handout, your notes from class. So it's kind of tiresome. I mean, we're used to doing it, but teachers will be like, oh, they didn't read the syllabus, or why didn't they check the syllabus, or the information I gave today in class. Why am I having to repeat it? Don't use email for bad news. Seems obvious, but it's amazing what people will do. Email's inappropriate for breaking bad news or attempting to resolve arguments. Nobody, for example, should ever be fired in email. That's a bad practice. I can tell you, I mean, you're looking at this and thinking, that would never happen. But I know someone who, his girlfriend went off to Australia and texted him to say that she'd fallen in love with somebody else and wanted to break up right before he was going to come visit her in Australia. So yeah, bad, very bad. Rule 10, use caps discreetly. Now I think you know this as the younger generation. Only use capital letters for emphasis or for titles, but sometimes I'm sure you've seen it, like on Facebook and elsewhere, where people are writing in caps to emphasize their points, right? So here's an example for you of what not to do. Imagine your mother doesn't get on email very often. Hello, dear, did you pay your rent on time? I haven't gotten a call from you this week. I'm worried about you. Have a nice day. Love, Mom. It's kind of scary looking, right? In all caps. Use attachments appropriately. They're good for longer documents that you wouldn't just want to copy and paste the whole text into your email message. You can include a brief message with it, of course, to explain what it is in the body of the email. Or use Dropbox or a Google site for storing files and send people the link, right? Avoid sending lots of attachments with informal images, jokes, and so on. It's kind of a waste of bandwidth, really. Check your spam folder in your whatever email accounts you have. It's amazing what can end up in there. Sometimes messages that you might care about, so do check those spam folders. Now, this is sort of a more recent thing. I had to go through the training for this here at USD recently, and so I asked IT if they made you go through the training too, and they said no. And so I was like, oh, should I say something about this? And they're like, that'd be great. All right, okay. Beware of and report suspicious emails, but don't report spam, which is junk mail. And how do you know the difference? Well, spam, unsolicited, unwanted email that's trying to sell you something, junk mail, right? The stuff that you toss in the recycling bin that at home, the paper stuff that you get in the mail that you're like, they're trying to sell me on something, I don't want this. So it might be kind of annoying, but it's rarely malicious, right? They're not trying to harm you, they're just trying to sell you something. Beware of, however, and report suspicious emails, like this one. They're called phishing, or even worse, spear phishing emails. They have a criminal intent. They're trying to do something bad, trying to get you to do something that's against your best interests, possibly for you to give up your bank info or something else so they can get at your money. They may even appear to come from someone you know. They can fake it. They can make it look as if it's a message actually from someone you know. Has anybody ever received a phishing email? A message that seemed like it was trying to manipulate you some way? Now, we have an example here on screen. It's not really from Bank of America. There's kind of a suspicious email address. The fact that it says to undisclosed recipients, meaning it's been sent to a whole bunch of people. There might be typos or spelling errors, but not always. They often want you to go to a certain link, website, or they might have an attachment, a suspicious attachment that if you open could create problems for you. It might be a virus that you're downloading or something else. So you have to really have your thinking caps on when you read your email. Make sure that it's authentic email. And what can you do if you receive an email like this in your USD account? Well, there is something you can do. You'll see there's something called the fish alert. Maybe you've seen it. When you open your USD email, any message that you want to forward to the USD technology people to take a look at, you click on that fish alert button and it will pop up with this message and it'll say, are you sure you want to report this as a phishing email? And then you just click on report fish. And they will then look at that message carefully to see if indeed it is something that's damaging. It will also disappear from your inbox. So again, don't do it with spam, where they're trying to sell you something but not hurt you. But definitely for stuff that you question that it might be harmful, trying to manipulate you in some way, it might be harmful via USD, report it. Of course, proofread seems obvious, but I'm sure you've gotten lots of emails yourself with typos up the wazoo. It looks bad. Proofread your text before clicking the send button. If you have a spell check option in your email, use it, which you do in USD email. And of course, proofread. I usually do this sort of kind of soft reading aloud of my message before I send it. Forces me to slow down and really look at the message, and then I can also hear what might be wrong in the message. A few more tips for you before we get into the exercise we're going to do. Reading and replying. Well, then I get maybe between 75 and 100 messages a day in my inbox, daily, right? And so one of the things I do in the morning, I will scan all the messages in my inbox before replying to each individually. Sometimes I have people who say, send a message, and they go, oh, I forgot this, send another message, and then they say, oops, I made a mistake, send me another message. So if I read all of their messages together before I respond, I save myself some time. Print only really when necessary, when something is critical or important. You can save important messages in folders. You can create folders in your email account, you know, and organize yourself and save those important messages rather than printing them out. I'm really great at misplacing paper, so I think that's a good way to handle it. Acknowledge receipt, ideally within 24 hours. So try to reply to the person, even if it's to say thank you or I got your message, appreciate it. Whatever it is, it can be brief, just acknowledge that you received the message from them if it's somebody you know or somebody that you think should get a reply. When you reply, don't automatically return the sender's whole message. You can cut and paste relevant parts of the context so the context is clear that what you're replying to. If somebody sends a lengthy message, just include the parts that are actually relevant for your reply. Sometimes somebody will send me a list of questions they have, and I'll say, let me reply to your questions one by one, and I'll have the first question, I'll respond to it, second question, and respond to it. You know, organize your response. Revise the subject line. If you keep going back and forth and the topic changes, and you know, at first you were talking about the assignment coming up in your class, but now you're talking about, I don't know, living in the dorms, parking at USD, whatever it might be. Never respond when angry. Just to repeat that. And other good practices, think about your design. Email these days, it's easy to use a little bit of design, thoughtful design, to improve the readability, especially of longer messages. I will send messages on the Writing Center listserv to the writing consultants who work in the Writing Center. So I try to make it easy for them to read. I'll use headings, bullets, or numbers for lists. Skip a line in between each paragraph. This is sort of business writing advice. I've taught business writing too, and this is something they emphasize. And consider cultural differences. If you're like in a group of students that you're emailing back and forth, and you know, folks from other countries or even other parts of the United States who might not recognize some of the references you use, you need to be mindful of that. You know, some parts of the country they say pop, and other places they say soda, as I discovered. Double check before hitting the send button. Just, you know, read it all over before you hit that send button. Ask yourself, look at this one. What's wrong with sending this message to your instructor? Sorry, I wasn't in class. Did we do anything? What's wrong with that? Seems pretty innocent. Did we do anything? What does that seem to imply? Yeah, that often there are days that are a waste where nothing happens. And so I'm always tempted, you know, when I get a message like that, to say, nope, we didn't do a thing. Nothing. Or how about this? So what's my grade in this class? Just squandered. Yeah, so misuse of a word and maybe not the best way to talk about your grade. Better to stop by and talk to the instructor. You can be informal, but be polite. You know, use good grammar and correct spelling. So we're going to write an email message, and I'm going to have you partner up with another person. But before you partner up, you're actually going to write the email message on your own. But then after you write it on your own, then you'll be sharing. So just be prepared. So you're each going to write your own email message. This is good practice. Applying some of the guidelines I've been talking about, right? So I'm going to give you a situation that's a bit challenging. And I want you to think about all the guidelines I've given you for email in writing this message, and then be prepared to share. You've been assigned as the leader of a group working together on a presentation for class. You are okay, you're each a leader. of a group. And one group member has missed the first 2 meetings. Not good, right? Not a good scenario. The others have all attended the first 2 meetings, except this person. You don't know why. They haven't been there. I want you to email this group member with an appropriate message. And be sure to talk about the upcoming meeting. So think about everything we've been talking about, all the guidelines. You're going to compose a message. You can make up additional details as you like to fit the scenario. And consider whether you want to use the CC line or not. What's the CC line? Carbon copy, which is funny, isn't it? Does anybody know what's meant by the term carbon copy? That you used to stick this special kind of paper with layers in a typewriter. I guess you still can, but you would type on the top, type, and it would make copies underneath of what you typed on the top layer. So it saved you, right? And you would have these additional copies, carbon copies, and it would have this dark carbon ink layer that would put the second copy or the third copy, as the case may be, on the layers below. Sounds super strange to us in the age of word processing and photocopiers, right? But that's how they used to work it, and that's what the CC refers to, that you're sending a carbon copy, a copy of your message possibly to somebody else besides that person. Does anybody know what BCC is? Yes.
It's a blind carbon copy.
Yeah, blind carbon copy. Now that's just sneaky, I'm here to tell you. You'll see an email that there's a BCC option, and that's a way of sending a message without the original person knowing it. And carbon copy, the person you're sending, the main person you're sending the message to won't know that you're sending to other people. It's kind of sneaky. CC is certainly fine, because the recipient can see it, but BCC is a little slimy. There we go. We're ready to go. You'll have to excuse me, I have a little hay fever, so sneezing out the wazoo, stuff in the throat. So go ahead and write your email following the scenario, and we're going to share shortly. You can add details as you like, however you choose. Give this person a name, decide what class it's for, fill in details however you see fit. Just follow the guidelines. You're writing your email right now. I don't care if you're composing on paper or on your electronic device, that's fine. For online people who are doing this exercise, you can copy and paste your email right into the chat box.
Again, think about the things we talked, the guidelines. Things to avoid, things that you want to make sure you do in your email. Just 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. So I'm going to have you pair up or work in a group of 3 if it seems better, and read aloud your messages and compare them. Look at how they're different. Each of you responded to those messages, and then we're going to share with the larger group in just a bit.
If you guys
So,
want to
go ahead and share with your partners.
I didn't do one. I'm the on. Doing
You can do that too. That's so far away.
Online people,
You guys
copy
can
and paste.
So my subject line was English to Apply meetings. Dear John, hope all is going well. I've noticed that you have not been present at our last two English to Apply meetings, and was curious if you were going to be present for the next. We'll be going over resumes, and it is important for you to be there. Please provide this with a plan in advance. Hope to see you there.
I saw that you were in the power position. I took that as an advantage to pass the semester. So missing meetings. Oh, funny. How are you this evening? Hopefully you have a good reason for missing our team meeting. We're having another meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. If you do not show up, I'll have to kick you off the team, which will result in you getting a 0 for the product. Don't worry, we have plenty of work for you to make up, so you can have full participation. Sincerely, gotta use the power position.
So at the end of this, so you guys gonna hand out like little slips for our.
We'll hand out comment cards, and you'll put your instructor's information name on it.
Business or
I don't think I'll see it,
Quite a few online. Several have posted. Oh, that's good. I believe 5. Great.
So, I think what we'll do is treat it like a table. One from each table. Then you don't have to.
Okay.
So, I'm very curious to hear some people's emails, and we're going to, the numbers are kind of falling off the tops of the screens in this room, I noticed. This is supposed to be table 2, and it's kind of, the sign is kind of crooked and drunk, I'd say. Okay, so if I could get one of you to, at table 2, to read somebody's, okay. Yes, you seem to, one thing I would ask you to do is to put the microphone toward you, grab one of those microphones. Ask your neighbor next to you, ask your neighbor to hold down the button while you speak into it. So this way, yeah, so that this way everybody in the room can hear you, and so can the online people. So go ahead.
Okay, so I sent it to the girl that missed, and I CC'd all of our group members, and the subject is missed meeting information. Dear Sally, I hope you're doing well today. Our group noticed your absences to our meetings this week. I just wanted to extend this email to you to inform you about the information you missed. Our group decided to do our research about the importance of properly taking your medications. We noted that we wanted to discuss how bacteria becomes antibiotic resistant. I have attached a link to a shared notes document for further details. Our next meeting will be Monday at 6 p.m. on the first floor of the MUC. If you are absent again, our group will reach out to Professor Drake to inform him. If you have any further questions, please email me or any other group members. Sincerely, Grace Boddicker, with the notes attachment.
Okay. So, what do you think? That was a pretty professional message. It covered all the bases. It was pretty neutral, and also gives them a chance to redeem themselves. It was generous in terms of sharing what has already been covered at earlier meetings. I like the way that it started out with a friendly first sentence. And the language our group noticed, it's not condemning, right? Because you have no idea why this person has missed, right? Something could have happened. So, okay, good. Very nice. But there are lots of different ways to do this. So I'm going to go to table 3. And you can feel free to share one that is flawed, a flawed message, because we can have a lot of fun with that. Okay. So, okay. We're going to table 3. Go ahead. Somebody share yours.
Oh, you need a microphone, grab a microphone. Okay, she's jumping in. Can somebody hold down the button while she speaks?
Okay, so I said, hello, John Doe. I hope all is going well. I'm writing to you to let you know that our English group has had 2 meetings in the past that you may not have known about. Did the schedule we had planned not work out with your schedule? I understand if it didn't. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, August 24th at the MUP. We plan on meeting around 7. Please email me back if this doesn't work for you, and we can try to figure out a time that would work for everyone. I just wanted to let you know because I'd hate for you to get a bad grade due to lack of participation. I hope to be in contact with you soon. Sincerely, McKenna Coots.
Okay, so giving that person reasons to respond, that's a good thing. Very specific time and all the logistics for the next meeting, that's good. Also started out in a really friendly way, kind and inquiring. So slightly different from hers, but working just as well. In fact, it may be a little too nice. Maybe give that person a little leeway, but overall, I really like that message a lot. So, okay. How about we go to this table 4. Can I get somebody to volunteer theirs?
Hello, everyone. Okay, that's loud. I was just sending this message to discuss our next meeting time. We will be meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. in the library. I would appreciate if everyone would attend so we can finish our project with a good grade. It would also be helpful for you all to show up and participate due to the fact that we have peer reviews at the end of this project. I want everyone to receive a good grade and for the work to be split evenly. See you there, Hannah Pruitt.
Okay, you made it clear expectations are for the group, reminding this person who has missed meeting sessions, why it's important for them to participate. So that's really good. Excellent. Okay, so I realize it's just 2 and 2 with these tables, but so, and 2. And so I'll just ask for a volunteer out of these 3 tables here. Who wants to jump in?
I'd rather go.
Okay, go for it.
That's probably like the longest one.
Oh, that's all right. We're gonna hear a different take on it.
So the group subject line is group presentation project inquiry. Good morning, Mr. Doe. I am emailing you today to inform you that I am the new elected leader for our group. As such, I'd like to follow up with you. I noticed that you missed our last 2 meetings. Are you still interested in participating? For information, our next meeting is at X time at X Hall in our room X. I hope to see you there. Respectfully, John Doe.
Okay. So it takes a respectful tone that's formal, and it's not condemning that person. Possibly could have given that person maybe a little of incentive, to show up at the meeting, and this affects our, like we've been hearing, like this affects our grade in class, and something along those lines. But I think doing the job, it's doing the job. So let's go over here, and again, I realize we have just 2 at this table, but how about one of you jump in if you would?
Do you want to read yours or I can read mine? You want to say yours?
Sure.
Alright.
The subject line was missed meetings. Hello, Frank. How are you this evening? Hopefully you have a good reason for missing our team meetings. We are having another meeting tomorrow at 4. If you do not show up, I'll have to kick you off the team, which will result in you getting a 0 for the project. Don't worry, we have plenty of work for you to make up so you can get full participation list. Sincerely, your leader.
Actually, I like certain things about that message. It's got some personality which I totally appreciate. It's maybe a little threatening, but it does get its point across pretty clearly. Let me go over here to this table if I can get somebody to read theirs.
The subject is English Group Project. Dear Grace, I hope you are having a great day. I am Lauren Walton, the leader of our group project we were assigned in English 101. We have had 2 group meetings to discuss the project, and we have missed you at both. Our next one is this Monday at 7 p.m. in Delzell 110. We hope to see you there. Sincerely, Lauren Walken, and then contact you.
I like that phrase, we missed you. It suggests that, hey, your presence matters, and your participation matters to our project, which is great. Good job. And then we're going to just have one online shared. You want to jump in, Liz?
Yep. Okay, this is from Maya. Dear X, I am in your presentation group in Y class. I noticed you were absent to our first 2 meetings. Is everything all right? I hope you are well, and we hope to see you at our next meeting on Thursday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. on the first floor of the library. Please bring anything you have completed for the presentation, and if you have any more questions, please feel free to email me back. Hope to see you tomorrow, Maya.
Okay. So I've heard from a couple of messages where they're asking, is everything okay? Which I think is great. Especially if you're just sending it to that person. It might be a little too personal if you were also CCing the members of the group, but if it's just going to that person, I think that's fine. It might get that person to open up. You could possibly include your phone number so that they could call you if they wanted to talk about it. So all sorts of different ways of putting together this message, although we heard a lot of the similar things coming up. One thing I would have said, could you please reply to this message to let me know that you received it? I would have put that in there, just to make sure, they're checking their email and know about the meeting, right? So again, very good job. So I have to share this classic cartoon. This is one of my favorites. On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. So related to this, and I'm going to segue from talking about email specifically to social media generally. And at the end of this workshop, very shortly, I'll be distributing comment cards for those of you who want an instructor notified that you were here. Just fill it out, including your instructor's name. You don't remember your instructor's name because, hey, it's the first week of class. Write down what the class is and what day and time it meets, and I can find it, and the room location if you know it. So one of the things is you need to be aware of is catfishing. Anybody know what that is? What is catfishing? And I'm not talking about going to the river and getting some catfish.
People say who they are online.
Yeah, it's about how they're presenting themselves, right? Can refer to a person who creates a fake identity on a social network. And that's not a good thing. They might be seeking attention, they might be bullying people. We've seen some of that kind of harassment or stirring people up, or implementing a scam of some sort, especially like on dating websites where they pretend to be somebody, your dream woman or dream man, and turns out not to be the case. And I have to say this just happened to a relative of mine. She got divorced, and she was on a dating website, and she was telling me about it. We were both at a wedding, and she said, oh, he was going to be here, but at the last minute he couldn't make it. And I was like, oh. And then I said, so where's he from? She said, well, he lives down in Florida, but he travels all over for work. So he's rarely at home. And he also didn't have, all of his family was dead, including his daughter. And there were other things that, tripped alarms for me as she was telling me about this guy. And I told her, I think this is catfishing. She has since quit talking to that guy. But it was alarming how easily he could slip in, and she found him believable. So it's something to be wary of, that people can pretend to be something other than what they are. The fact is, they could mostly present themselves as they are with their real name and everything, but change certain things about themselves. We know people do that, right? Pretend to be something a little bit different from what they are, pretend to be more successful, pretend in other ways.
So with that kind of segueing, thinking about who you are online, how you present yourself, not that you would ever catfish, I would hope, never do that. But who are you online when you get on Facebook or Twitter or other sites? Are you the same person online as you are in person? Some people are more aggressive online. Have you ever seen that, where they're perhaps shyer, nicer in person? I have a cousin who had posted something on his Facebook page, and I responded to it, and a friend of his insulted me, responded with an insult to me. And I was like, wow, you know? And then I happened to meet that person, and he looked at me, and he turned red in the face, and he apologized for his remark. And it's somebody who would never have said that face to face. It's interesting. So think about that. Are you bolder, funnier, more formal? You know, how are you? Do you think you're exactly the same when you get online? You know, the various ways that someone can connect with a person online. I just mentioned a couple: Twitter and Facebook. Anything else that you could think of? What? Snapchat. That's another one, right? Those disappearing messages. Texting on your phone, of course. Yes. Video games online, playing video games. That's kind of you're presenting yourself online a certain way, right? Instagram. You know, there are other spaces you can go to online, of course, the dating websites I mentioned. Weblogs, you might have a blog or follow a blog where people post messages on a regular basis. And bloggers often link to other blogs or websites of interest, so there's an example of one. If you've ever watched a TED video, they have a blog where they post things on a regular basis. Facebook, of course. Now, note this little article right here. Colleges sometimes use Facebook to snoop on students, find out what they're doing. So Oxford, admittedly, a university with very high standards, they're emailing students fines of $80 to $200 for breaking rules and how they were posting on Facebook. Employers also look at Facebook. They will look for you to find out what you're like online. So they will Google you. They will look in Facebook and other spaces. So, you know, to do background checks, think about that. Think about things you've posted in Facebook and on other spaces that potential employers might see. So there's top 10 turnoffs for employers on social networking websites. References to drug abuse, like smoked up a doobie, yeah, you know. Extremist or intolerant views, including racism, making racist remarks or sexist remarks, criminal activity, you know, gleefully talking about how you stole one of those crates out of the back of so-and-so's grocery store. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but oh boy, is that employer going to hire you if they see that? Evidence of excessive alcohol consumption. That also could be sometimes a turnoff for employers. Inappropriate pictures, including nudity. Foul language. Links to unsuitable websites if you're linking to sites that seem questionable. Lewd jokes. Silly email addresses. There's that one again. Membership in pointless or silly groups, or even groups that might be disturbing. So, Southern Poverty Law Center has noted the rise of hate groups, sometimes with names that you wouldn't guess that they are a hate group. So be mindful of your membership in groups, you paying attention. So it would certainly be worthwhile to you. Make sure that your Facebook profile doesn't lose you a job. Look at it, check your privacy settings. If you belong to a network, a lot of people who are not your friends may be able to see your profile. Be paying attention to that and clean up your profile. review all that info tab, photos, videos. My son's a musician. He was playing at a party, and there was a video of him at the party. And in the background were people, living it up, shall we say, having a really good time beyond the limits that they should have been. He was doing fine. He was just playing music, but I was like, son, that doesn't look too good, the people you're associating with there. He requested that video be taken down. Keep your profile clean and update your status, pause when updating your status, rather. Think about what you're posting on there. And the uploading of photos and videos and commenting on other people's walls and photos and so on. And we know about Twitter. I'll just point out a quick point about Twitter. This person was fired for what she posted, the horrible remarks she posted on Twitter, where she said, "I will choke that illegal mix cleaning in the library. Stop banging chairs around and turn off your Walkman." She posted remarks like that in her Twitter feed. She got on a plane, and when she got back, she lost her job by the time she got off the plane. So it can happen pretty darn fast. The media spreads quickly, right? So pay attention to that. And think about that. Imagine a student who's never been on the internet or had a cell phone. What's the one piece of advice you would offer when this person communicates online and email, this instant messaging, tries weblogs, Facebook, etc.? Thing that really sticks out for you. I'm running just a little bit over. I'm going to quit. We're going to distribute the comment cards right now. And Liz is sharing a link online for the online students to fill out. Similar thing. If you want PAW points, folks, because you can get PAW points ending this workshop, please write your student ID number down on the comment card. We don't have a blank on here for the ID number, so please remember to put it down.
I need to remember to bring extras. Thank you.
Okay. I need to lend pen. I think some of them don't have pens or pencils. I'll have to remember to bring them next time. Okay, I have a single pen. I have to share. Okay. I have two in my bag. Okay, Liz had a couple.